Right, so welcome to the first digital coaching session. Um, it's quite exciting to kind of get things finally rolling with this project, and I think it's going to be incredibly beneficial for everyone. Honestly, we've put a lot of effort in over the past few weeks to try and get things prepared and ready for teaching staff as well as learners and students as well, to try and bring a bit of ease and efficiency to this strange new world that we're trying to do our best and work in. Today we're mainly going to be looking at teaching with teams, and more specifically using teams in an efficient and easy way that is stress-free. I'm going to talk a little bit about setting things up as well as some of the features for mainly the likes of teaching staff, how to make their workflow a lot faster, a lot quicker. Some techniques I use in my lessons that might be useful, a little bit of key advice as well. And the main focus is, like I've said, to make things stress-free, easy and efficient as well. So overall, in today's session, I'm going to quickly introduce what the digital coaching program is. I know it's kind of been darted around a little bit what we are, but I'm going to kind of go into the specifics a little bit about that. Then I'm going to first start off talking about getting set up and started with Teams, and the different options we can use with that. How you can adjust your key settings. So that's things like microphones, your video, and making sure you know how to adjust those in case there's an issue, or being able to solve some of those problems if they come up. Setting up a team. So a lot of people, especially the staff, are already using Teams quite efficiently, but I'm going to cover it anyway, so please don't find that don't feel patronized or anything. I'm just going to cover every little aspect, and there might be a few little techniques and niches that you might see tonight that you might think, actually, that's going to make my life a little bit easier. And lastly, I'm going to explain how we can use we can use Teams for teaching and assessing to make people's life easier. So just to quickly start off, I want to talk to you a little bit about what this whole digital coaching program is. Pretty much the way things are going this year and earlier this year, we had completely changed the way education functioned. We started to do things remotely to try and keep ourselves safe, and suddenly we were kind of thrown into this strange new world of using digital remote sessions and teaching, and it was quite a blur for a lot of people. A lot of learners found it hard, a lot of members of staff found it hard, and the government has pretty much turned around and says, okay, we're going to help support some colleges to provide them extra support in learning how to understand, feel more comfortable, and get used to this new way of teaching, and even see if there's a way that we can integrate that into our future once this whole lockdown has kind of been lifted, and we might be able to find a usefulness out of it. So what is the program all about? Well, we in our program, specifically in Hartlepool College, we've come up with a specific aim, a very direct aim, which I've spoke about already quite a bit, and that is we want learning with technology to be easy and efficient. We don't want it to just be something that's easy to do. We also want it to be useful. We want to share the uses of using these different platforms of technology, such as Teams, which we're going to discuss tonight. So throughout the sessions that I'm going to be conducting, and that we're going to be using, this is going to be our focus. It's making your life easier so you can do your job better, and that is the main focus for what we're going to be doing. So a quick sort of brush over the digital coach program. This is what we've kind of put together. The digital coach program aims to equip staff and students with the confidence and skills to teach and learn using digital technologies with ease and efficiency. Our goal is to promote the benefits of technology and relieve anxiety that accompanies the new digital form of education. If a problem is beyond our area, such as fixing and supplying technology, we can refer you to the appropriate people as well. So us as digital coaches, we are going to be very similar to something like the WARMs, or going to see the IT technicians. If you have an issue, or if you're struggling with getting used to anything revolving technology, we'll be kind of a first point of call. You'll come to us and say, I'm struggling with this and that. I can't, and it could be something as simple as wanting to improve your skills with PowerPoint. You might want to make your PowerPoint exciting, or Word documents as well. It can be anything at all. You'll come to us and we can have a one-to-one session, or you can attend one of these open sessions that we're doing now, or we can find other ways as well. We aren't technicians, so like we've said, if we have something which is if you have something which is broken, we would then refer you to the technicians instead. But we're definitely a point of call, and we'll be able to direct you in the right place as well. There's two digital coaches. There's myself, and there's also Rachel, who's here with us as well. Sessions will either be conducted by myself or Rachel, or we'll be doing them together, such as tonight. Rachel's going to be helping with some demonstrations, and when you book some one-to-one sessions, you'll have either of us. If you have any concerns or any worries, our emails are there as well, or you know how to use our email system already, so you can contact us through that way. There's going to be a form as well that's going to be going out soon after half term, but I'll talk to you a little bit more about that at the end. So, Teams. How can Teams got installed earlier this year, and initially it was just kind of a way that you'd have a few meetings, you maybe send a few quick messages and emails. It was not intended to be this huge platform for teaching lessons in, and it was never installed to be used this way. But suddenly, because of COVID, it's almost like they knew we got it installed, and we're actually incredibly lucky to have this platform installed for actually using this. So Teams can help us in a lot of ways, and it has been incredibly beneficial to help us overcome what the current situation. So the reasons I like Teams, and the reason Teams is incredibly useful, is first off, it's an all-in-one teaching, learning, and assessment tool. It is pretty much everything you need to teach a lesson and assess work. You can create documents in there as well. Not only that, it links to your email. It also links to your calendar. It collaborates everything that is digital within our workplace. It's pretty much going to be the core of where a lot of lessons are going to be taking place. You can create, edit, share documents easily, and it's very flexible with control and permissions. So let's talk about getting started with Teams. So there's a few different ways you can get set up with Teams, and a few different platforms that you can use it on. First off, you can actually access Teams through your internet browser. If you know how to access the college staff portal, Rachel, can you let me know? Am I sharing the staff portal at the moment?
Yeah,
make sure, yeah, that's fine. Just want to double check that's coming up. So if you know how to access the staff portal, you can access Teams. There's a little option under IT and library services, and if I just click on Microsoft Teams there, it will bring up Teams. There we go. And I didn't need to install anything. I didn't need to do anything at all. I didn't have to open Horizon or anything. You can do it all through the browser, and it's really quick to access. It's really quickly to use, and it functions pretty much exactly the same as it does as the installed version that you might have seen in college. So if you're working from home, as an alternative, rather than having to go through the whole installation process, if you feel that might be a little bit more complicated. The other option is obviously the desktop application, which there is an option on the Teams application on the website. Let me pull that up really quickly. There is a way you can install Teams. Let me have a look. There we go. Download the desktop application just there. And that'll allow you to download the actual application to your computer. So you can have that very similar to what I'm using at the moment. So it opens up like a window, but that's completely up to you if you want to use that. It is more efficient, and it is the best way to use Teams because you have access to all the tools. But if you prefer to use online and you're not using all these extra fancy things, then you don't really need to use that. The last way that you can use Teams is the mobile application, which I highly recommend everybody getting. If you have Android or an iPhone, if you go into your App Store and type in Teams, you just log in with your information and everything will pop up in front of you. It's a great way to kind of keep in contact for when you're moving between classrooms. Sometimes when I'm on the way to work or moving between a classroom, I'll get a notification of a student saying, which room are we in? So usually I would go to my classroom and then I have to maybe message him there. But then I can just quickly reply on my phone. So that makes things nice and easy and efficient. Like I've said, just having that extra way that you can use that. And it just keeps everything in contact. Can I quickly ask, can I get some hands up if you know how to do that? How many people are using Teams through Horizon right now? I know I brought it up yesterday in the meeting. I know I've got quite a few people. There we go. I know I've got quite a few people using Teams through Horizon. Well, one of my key bits of advice is do not use Teams through Horizon. And it'll cause so many more problems for you. Your audio and video quality is going to be massively reduced because technically what's happening is you're sending your signal to the college, then it's coming straight back. So it's a longer process. So I would highly recommend instead downloading the application on your phone, the desktop browser, or start using it through the browser, which will be a lot more efficient for you. Your connection will also struggle. You might dip out sometimes. Loading times will be longer, and it overall reduces the workflow. So that's kind of how we're going to get set up with Teams. Right. So now we're going to quickly talk about how to adjust your settings within Teams. Now, I'm going to be using the example from the desktop application because it's the most full version, and I'm going to walk you through that. So here's my my Teams at the moment. This is my desktop application. I do apologize. I'm going to be jumping between the PowerPoint and the providing examples as well. How do you access your settings in your settings? Well, whether you're on the phone application or the web or on the desktop application, if you want to access your settings, all you do is look for your portrait in the top right, click on that, go down to where it says settings, and there's a little cog. You can follow along if you want to as well. That might be useful. And then if you click on settings, it's going to come up with a few little tabs on the side that can be quite useful, and I'll talk briefly about that. So that's how you get access to your Teams. The first thing you should do when you open up Teams is double check and adjust your audio and video devices. As a quick note, if you are using the mobile, if you're on the mobile phone, you won't need to adjust these settings. It does it automatically for you. And on the desk and on the web app, it usually just defaults to the correct settings anyway. So this is more specifically for the application. Let me have a quick look. So the first thing you want to do is go to where it says devices. And there you can see my webcam's linked up. And we've got audio devices, and we also have my camera down the bottom. Now, if you have just your laptop set up, it'll probably set up just normally, just fine. The main thing you need to focus on is if you are using something like a set of headphones or external speakers. So you want to just double check these settings and make sure that they're set correctly. I've got a music set up, so there's loads of options for me. However, you will only probably have one or two, and it should just say headphones or speakers or something like that, and it shouldn't be too complicated. So that'll set up your speaker, your microphone as well, and your camera should also be used as well. So double check those settings. So if you ever join a call and someone says, I can't hear you, your mic's muted, or something's wrong, just have a quick double check because it might be in your settings where the problem is. Yeah, so make sure you double check your settings before you make a call because that'll help you a lot. There's a few useful settings. There's a lot of things to get confused with, but there's three main things I want to point your attention to. The first one is the dark mode. If I click on this and I go to general, there's a few different themes at the top. We've got the default white, which looks a bit like that. Then there's the dark mode, which makes it a lot darker. And then there's a high contrast as well. I prefer to work in dark mode because it reduces a lot of eye strain. So if you're ever working on Teams late on a night, or if you're in a night class, having the dark mode can be incredibly useful. High contrast can also be there if you ever want to recommend for a student who is visually impaired. It can make things a lot more intense, makes it much easier to see and identify the different tools. But that's obviously based on your preference. You can use default as well if you're more comfortable with that. I prefer to work in dark mode because it's a lot easier on my eyes. Layout as well. Let me pull up Teams again. If I go down to layout, there's two different ways that you can kind of set up your teams. You can have the grid layout, which looks a bit like this. So if I click on my teams option, that's my grid layout. It shows all my different teams collectively. Now, if I go to my settings again and I change list, now I have all of my teams on the left-hand side and I can see them all together. So that's totally personal preference if you want to have them all in a block or if you want to use it as a list. I personally prefer to have it as a grid just because I can see which one I want to work with and I can focus on that one specifically. The last thing I want to mention as a useful tool is the second ringer. Now, this is mainly focused on those who are using headphones. If you're using headphones, for example, and you're on your laptop and you take your headphones out because you need to go, I don't know, check the dog, do some washing, make some food. What's going to happen is when you get called, say if someone decides to ring you, whether it's a student, you're not going to hear it because your headphones are plugged in. So what the second ringer allows you to do is set a secondary device where the audio can come out, the ringer can come out to let you know that someone's trying to get in touch with you. So, for example, I've currently got my headphones plugged in, but if I take my headphones off, I could set my secondary ringer to speakers. So the ring sound will come out my speakers instead, so I know someone's trying to notify me. So that just adds to that extra bit of efficiency if you think that option will be useful. Okay. Right, now we're going to talk a little bit about setting up your teams. And there's a few ways, we're going to, a few little options that we're going to go into, technical options that are going to help make your life a little bit easier. So we're going to talk a bit about setup, some of the settings, permissions, and files as well. So I've created this little guide. It's a nice step-by-step process on how to create teams. However, I'm going to go through and create my own version tonight, so you can all see how it works. First thing you want to do is click on the Teams tab, which is on the left-hand side. In the top right, it will say Join or Create a Team. And it comes up with a few ones that I could join, and these are open ones that other members of staff have created. So I'm just going to create a team. I'm going to click on this Create a Team option. It comes up with a few different options. I've left a link that explains the different variants in these options. However, the main ones you'll probably be using is class or staff, if you want to make a staff group or a specific class for students. So I'm going to create a class tonight because I want to show you what that looks like. I'm going to call it My Test Teams. And you can add a description if you want, something like that. And then I'm just going to click Next. Now it's got its name. It's creating the team for me. Now I can start adding some students in. Now I know a lot of members of staff have already done this process, but just to be familiar with it, you've got teachers and then you also have students. Make sure that you add them appropriately. So members of staff, such as like the learner support staff, make sure they are added as a teacher so they can access specific files and they might be able to do extra options in case you're away or be able to help out as well. For students, the best way to find a student is using their S number. However, tonight Rachel's going to help me out, and she's going to be my student that I'm going to be adding to the group. So I'm going to type in her name as well, and there we go. We've got Rachel. And just click Enter, and then I can just click Add. And you can add as many as you want that are going to be added to the group. Just something to note: students in your group are known as what you call members. It won't come up as students. They'll be referred to as members. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. So there we go. So I've created my team and I'm going to close that option there. And there we go. My teams has been created. Nice and simple. Right. Now the teams has been created. There's a few options that I'm going to need to adjust just before we get started. And to find those options in my teams, these little three dots on the right hand side of where it says My Test Teams, this is going to be the options to manage my team as a whole. And there's a few options in here that we can use. There's Add Channel, there's Add Member. We can leave the team, edit the team, just to show some of them options. You can change the picture if you want to. So I can update that to a conversation, for example, image. But the one that's going to be most useful is this managing team members. Say if you accidentally create a team and you accidentally forget a member of staff, say a learner support is added to the group or a new student is added, and you need to add them. This is where you're going to do that. So you right click on these three dots, left click on these three dots, click Manage Team, and it'll bring this up. And there you can add a new member, and it's the same process as before. So this is my role. I am the owner, and all the other members of staff will be known as owners as well. And if I go to members and guests, we can see Rachel there, who's going to be our student, and it says member on the right hand side. So remember, she's referred to as a member. That's going to come up a little bit later on. You can remove people, you can add them, you can even mute them as well, so you can prevent them from talking if you think they're ranting a lot. If that's useful or not, I don't know. You will also have pending requests if it's an open channel as well, if you want people to join. just something to add as well is that you can where it says add students or teachers, you can actually add people from outside the organization as well. So say if you want to have a Teams meeting with some form of external support or an external governor or something like that, you can type in their email, and as long as they have Teams, they can join as well, but they will be known as a guest. So you've got guests who are the external ones, and then members who are things like students. So there we go. So we're all set up there. Right. So now we're going to start getting to the setup of trying to create your teams to be as efficient as possible and to make it easier. So it's easy to find files and information and find where things are. And the best way to do that, I found, is using channels. So on the left-hand side of the team, it says general. That is our general chat where we can just have general discussions, and it's the main hub of our teams. So I can create a new conversation and say hello like that. Rachel should be able to reply as well. See if she's able to do that.
Yeah, I'm just on the look for it now.
That's all right. Sorry, no, I dropped that on you really quickly there. So Rachel should be able. There we go. And Rachel can reply as well. However, we can create extra channels as well if we want to start dividing the information up. Then there's a few ways that you can do that, and you can customize it however you feel most comfortable. To do that, we're going to click on this little these three bullet points. I'm going to click on Add Channel. I'm going to give it a name. And now I'm going to give this a name of Classes. And you can add a description as well. You can make it private and make it for specific members of the team. So you could maybe have one for each student. So you can have a specific chat with that student within your teams. You can maybe divide groups up into first years and second years potentially. And there's other ways that you can do it, and there's ways that you can customize to best suit you. However, in general, I'm just going to have my entire classes, and I'm going to make it open for everyone. So I'm going to click and automatically show this channel to everyone's channel list as well. So all my students will be able to see that it's available. I'm going to add it. There we go. So now I've got a classes channel. So in the general chat, it could be just general questions, and now I can divide the classes up as well. So it separates the information, so not everything's going to be all a big cluster. We can add a new conversation. However, what I want to do is I actually want to use this class section to focus on the lessons that I'm going to be conducting. So I'm going to click on the three dots next to the channel itself, and we're going to go and manage channel, and we're going to add a few of these settings. So if I didn't want, and I want to use this post, this channel specifically for maybe adding files, updates, reminders, and I don't want my students to message in this chat because it'll start getting lost and no one will know what they're doing. Permissions, we're going to set that to on. Now what this says, it says who can start a new post, and that's only moderators. So only moderators, which is myself, and it says team owners, and since I'm an owner of this team, I can start creating these posts. So only I can make new posts in there. Now it does also say allow members to reply to channel messages. So once I've created a post, they can reply to that, but it keeps it nice and organized within that one singular post. Or you can take that off completely and give them no permissions, but allow them to still see that bit of information. Once again, it's about making things organized. So I'm going to create one more channel, and it is going to be for assignments, just like that. And I'm just going to quickly adjust those settings as well. There we go. And that's it. So I've now got my general, I've got my assignments and my classes. So that's creating channels. Spoke a little bit about channel permissions. I jumped a little bit ahead of the game there. Right. So now we've set up our channels. We've set up the permissions of these channels. The next thing we're going to look at is files. Now, there's a few different ways we're using files at the moment. There's Canvas, which is another option. There's Office 365 and OneDrive. There's your files on your computer as well. However, if you're wanting to share things with your group, the best way to do it is within Teams itself, and you can use this little button at the top where it says Files. Now, you can create your own files. So there's one already there that says Class Materials, but I don't really want class materials. I want to create my own folders. So I'm going to delete that folder. So I've created all my folders within my documents. And to give an example, I have this folder here, which is on my computer. All I need to do is click on that and just drag it. And that should create the folder within Teams. So that's now all been uploaded, and there's a nice little icon there to let me know it's brand new. I've also created subfolders as well for each of these, so within each of the units, and those have also been installed as well, uploaded, sorry. So all these new documents have been shared, so my students can access that. Now, there's an important thing to note, and that's that every channel within your Teams has its own separate file space. So to explain what that means, if I go to General and I go to Files, my files are there, the ones I've just uploaded. However, if I go to Assignments and then go to Files, there's nothing there. So you can use that to your advantage and have specific assignment files within the assignments area. Or you can just have everything in general and have it organized that way as well, and just have things organized to be more customized how you want it to be, and better suited for your learners as well. Okay, so another point just to quickly add is that your files are linked to something called Sharepoint. Now, I don't know if many staff, and specifically students, will know about Sharepoint, but that's pretty much the system that the files are using. Now, Sharepoint is important because we're going to quickly look at that in a second, about some of the problems that we can get with sharing files, for example. I know this has come up in a few sessions, even in my own. So we're going to quickly talk about file permissions. And what that means is you can adjust the file permissions to alter the level of access other members of your group and your teams have. So for example, I'm going to create a brand new document within Teams as well. So another great reason why you can use Teams. If we click New, and I'm just going to create a Word document, and I'm just calling it New Document. And there we go. And I'm actually working within Teams right now, and I'm just say New Session Document. I'm using capitals all the way through, and I can adjust that however I want to. And there we go. I've created a new session. This is all within Teams. I didn't open Microsoft Word or anything. Everything was created within Teams. So I've created this document now, and the only problem is my students also have access to editing this document. So Rachel's going to give me a quick demonstration of what can happen if you don't adjust the permissions. And what's great is it does a live demonstration as well. So this should appear in a second. That's okay, no worries. So there we go. So I'm not typing anything there. Rachel's actually editing this document while I've got it open. So you could have this nice document all set up with files and everything. It's something that'd be useful, and then your student might go in and then use it and then save it, and then suddenly your nice template's been ruined. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how that you can adjust those settings. So I'm going to quickly close that. So in order to do this, this is going to be probably the most complicated thing that we're going to go through tonight. We're going to use SharePoint. And to do that, there's a little button up here that says Open in SharePoint. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to open up SharePoint. Now, this goes through the same college portal, so it may ask you to log in if you haven't logged in before and it hasn't saved your account. So if we look in SharePoint, I can tell this is the same folder because it says My Test Teams. It's a private group. In Documents, and it says General. That's the general group files that we're using. And I've got my new document, which is right there. So you can find the file or the document that you want to edit. And we're going to start adjusting some of the permissions now. So to adjust the permissions, you want to just hover over the file or folder, and there'll be 3 buttons. You're going to click on the actions, and it should say Manage Access. And there we go. And this little thing will pop up on the right-hand side, which will show the permissions of everyone who's involved in the group. So we've got My Test Team members, which remember members are students. Visitors would be the likes of guests from external people coming in. Team owners as well obviously have global access as well. So it says My Test Team members. So this is going to be Rachel's role. I'm going to quickly click on that on the little arrow, and I'm going to change it from Can Edit to Can View. And what that'll mean is any student or member accessing that document won't have the permissions to edit it. They can view it and they can download it, but they won't be able to edit it. So that protects your documents and your hard work that you put in. You don't have to re-upload things. So that's a way of protecting your documents. I'll quickly go through that again. All you need to do is click on the three dots next to the file. So this is going to be for the rest of my folders, manage access, and I'm going to quickly click on can view. Now, because this is an external folder, this is also going to apply to every folder within this folder itself. So make sure you don't apply it to everything if you don't want everything to be edited as well. Right, okay. So that's talking a little bit about permissions. Right, now let's get on to actually teaching with Teams and using Teams. It's going to be a little bit complicated to kind of show everything right now because I am on a call as well as doing this, but I will do the best I can to explain. So the best way to set up a lesson in Teams is through your calendar. So I'm going to open up my Teams session here. I'm at my Teams app, and there's going to go to my calendar, and I'm going to create a session just for later on tonight, just here. I'm going to click on this time, or you can go to the top right where it says add new meeting, which might be easy for some people. I'm going to add a name, and I'm just going to say test. And what I can do then is I can then add some attendance. So that would be my students. So for example, I'll use Rachel as an example. There we go. I've added Rachel. You can search your student names as well. Check your date, check your time. And so this is telling me it's 6 o'clock. However, we're going to have to go over that, say for half an hour. Now, so for example, you want to put your Teams sessions in as a regular thing. There's a little repeat button here that you can press, and it should say weekly. And if you press on that, that means that session is going to be booked every week. So you don't have to keep recreating the Teams session, the Teams call every other week, which is just more work for you. So this will be repeated throughout. You will have to create separate sessions for each other day, but once you click the repeat, your timetable will almost be recreated in Teams itself. The other thing I want to add to this is if you want to focus a specific group, we created a channel earlier on in our Teams called classes. I can't show right now while I've got this up. If I go to add channel, there's this little drop down menu, and I'm going to scroll down to where it says can't remember what my new team, I think I call it my test team, I think it was. Let me have a quick look. I can't remember what it was called now. I think it was on
my test teams it was called.
Was that what it was called? My test teams. I know I have one there. Okay. Let's have a look. My team there. Oh, my test teams isn't on there. Oh, you know, throwing. I have one that I've made earlier anyway, which is here where it says my team here. And there we go. So it says classes there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to specifically add this meeting, this lesson to that group. Now, how's that going to help us? Well, by adding that to that specific group, within that team, there'll be a notification that appears, which will alert students, and it'll also alert yourself. It adds another way that you can access the Teams as well. So you can do it through your calendar, or you can do it through that Teams group. And I'll show you a little bit about what that looks like. What I will do is I'll create one a little bit earlier so it conflicts a bit, and then that should appear. You can add a location as well if you want to, or a description. So I'm just going to quickly send that, and there we go. My new lesson has been created. If I go to my Teams, now this is one which I created earlier because this one isn't appearing for some reason. There we go, my Teams, and I go to my classes here, my classes section. It says scheduled meeting, and it says test. This is the one we created earlier on. So I can then click on that. I can join, and it's done exactly the same way as you would be doing through the meeting. It's just another way that students and staff that can access an actual meeting. All replies will be done within this. And remember, because we changed those permissions, students can't start typing all over the place, getting it mixed up. Now, this is quite useful, especially if you're going to be recording lessons, because all your lessons will be nicely organized in one specific channel. So if people need to go back and see a recording or a reply or a message, everything will all be nice and organized there, and you're not searching through loads of messages to try and find something. Once again, making things easy and efficient. So that's creating a session. So it's a guide's on there as well. Right, there's a few options we have when we're actually starting a meeting. These options are slightly different to when you have a one-to-one call. So this is going to get a little weird because I'm going to be using this call as an example. But there's a few options that you can use. There's one which I've got on now, which is captions. If you look at the bottom of this chat, everything I'm saying is being translated as best it possibly can, though it might not be 100% exact. These captions can also be logged. You can download the log as a transcript as well, though that is a little bit more complicated. And if you want to get that set up, get in contact with us and we'll help you set that up more specifically. But can be useful for some learners as well. You can record a session, which is quite easy to do. We're doing it right now. The option, if you look on the screen right now, there's a start record button, which is at the bottom. And that'll just start recording from that point until you stop the recording or the call ends. The main thing to remember, though, however, is that call recordings only last for 20 days. So you need to make sure you download them, save a copy, because they will expire after that. So say 2 months down the line, a student wants to go back and rewatch it because they missed an assignment and they're getting a resubmission, but the session's gone, so they won't have notes. Recording sessions has been massive this year, especially in my own lessons. I found that by recording sessions, I can get my students to be more engaged, not have to write as many notes, because they can discuss more, and because the session is recorded, they can just look back at all the information that we've discussed. So it definitely encourages participation by having recording as well. So I found that to be quite a big use. You can also apply a background as well. So say if you have a messy room like mine in the background and you want to get rid of that, there is an option for, let me have a quick look. It says apply background effects. This is only available on the app, or the desktop app. So you can change that to whatever you want, and that's how you can either blur it out or add, I don't know, be in a tropical paradise or in space or something. There's also a option for device settings, which is if you click on these three dots here, it'll say device settings, and that'll also give you that option of adjusting your mic settings rather than going back into Teams as well, just like we discussed at the start. There's a mic and camera toggle, which are those two options at the very top here. You can raise your hand, which is this option which we've already discussed, which can be useful for if you want to get the tutor's attention, or if that's a way that you want to organize large lessons. There's an open chat as well, which is this little button here, show conversation. So if somebody has a question, they can type it in and you can see the reply there as well, which might be quite useful in some circumstances. And the last one is sharing your screen, which is sort of what I'm doing now. There's a few different options that you have when it comes to sharing your screen. Unfortunately, I can't actually show you the options without not sharing my screen. So it's unfortunately, I can't do that. But all you need to do, there'll be a button that's here, not the specific button because this is telling me to stop it and hide the share screen option. But by pressing on that, you'll get three options at the bottom, and it'll say you can share a screen, which is the entire screen. There's the window. So if you just want to share your PowerPoint window, like I'm doing now, for example, that means if you tab out or if you open another file or document, they won't be able to see that. But you do need to remember that. You can also use a PowerPoint as well. So you can click through a PowerPoint within Teams, which is quite useful. However, if you are using the PowerPoint slides, it's important that you use this little eye icon. If you turn that off, otherwise students can click through your PowerPoint when you're not looking, and then you don't know where you are. So that's something that's worth noting as well. So the last thing I want to cover tonight is how can we use Teams to assess students? So we've organized our lessons. We know how to set our lessons up. We know how to set files. How can we set assignments within Teams? That's the last thing we need to do. Lessons took place. How can we get everything together and assess what they've done? So within Teams, or in your team specifically, I'll go back to the one that we created earlier today, my test teams. We created an assignments channel. However, the assignments, to create an assignment, you need to be in the general chat. And at the top right, it will say assignments. So if you click on that, it'll come up and it'll say get started, and we're going to get started just like that. It'll be dead simple. Then all you need to do is you just need to click on the create button, which is just in the bottom left. Once you start creating assignments, that button might move around the screen, so just have a look around for it. You can create an assignment or a quiz. I'm going to create an assignment. It doesn't necessarily mean assignment. It could be a task, for example. So these are the options for creating an assignment. So say if you want to have a task for them to complete, this is what the options are. So I'm going to create an assignment. I'm going to say test assignment, just like that. I can also add a category. So I could say this is part of Unit 4, and I'll click Enter. So that'll categorize that into Unit 4 specific assignments. I can add instructions, do this by tomorrow, something like that. You can also add a resource. You can upload a template if you wanted to do that. You can add a point system, and you can even add a rubric system as well. So you can create, different grading systems: excellent, good, fair, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, for example. Now here we go. This is where we can kind of choose who we're going to assign our assessment to. So it says my test teams. So that's the group that we want to assign it to. And we're going to assign it to all students. However, if you want, rather than sending it, say if you have level 1s, 2s, and 3s within the same teams, you can pick out specific students so only they can see that. So this is where you would change that. You can set the due date and the set time. But the other option I want to mention is this little bit at the bottom, which isn't very well shown, where it says settings and it says post assignment notifications to this channel, and it says general. Now if we were to do that, it would go in the general chat, and then it would suddenly get lost by all the students because they'll start talking and asking things about it. So if we click edit on this little button here, we can choose which channel we want to send it to. Remember, classes is for our actual remote lessons, and the assignments bit is where we're going to put our assignments. Once again, keeping things nice and organized so our students can find it, and so can we. So there we go. So I'm going to assign that to all students. So Rachel's going to be getting assignments soon, being the student. And I'm going to click. So you have two options. You can discard it if you want to get rid of it. If you click save, that will then go into your draft. So say if you want to prepare it maybe for next year or something, or have it ready but don't want to issue it yet, you can do that there. You can have it in your drafts, and then just re-click on it and you can click assign. So there we go. So Rachel will get a notification now. Saying that she now has an assignment. If I go back to assignments, there we go. In the assignments folder now, in the assignments channel, it's issued the assignment. I could have put like a description on there as well. So that means all the students will be able to see that assignment. They can access it. Now remember, the permissions mean that no one can talk in this chat, so they will always be nice and organized. Just to give you an example of what this looks like, here's my esports group. I have my assignments channel, and all my assignments are nice and organized. I usually get them to react to make sure that they see it. And same as my classes as well. All my classes have been put together just to kind of show an example of what that looks like when it's being in use. So if I go back to my assignment, on the right hand side, it says 0 out of 1 handed in. So that means Rachel's late handing the assignment in. So that's when you can let them know she's doing it. So Rachel's going to hand in the assignment. If I click on that really quickly, it says that Rachel's viewed the assignment. So we know that Rachel has seen the assignment. So there's no getting away from, oh, I didn't know it was there. I didn't know I had to do it. So that's another way you can monitor it.
I'm submitting it now.
so she's just going to submit an example assignment now. So there we go. It says 1 out of 1 handed in. So we've seen that Rachel's handed in her assignment. So it says there we go with a big tick and says handed in. So to have a look at her assignment, I'm going to click on her name. And it was in a Word document that she submitted, and it's now opened it up in Microsoft 365 within Teams. This is all done within Teams. So there we go. So it was a example assignment that we put in with a question. Now, there's a few things you can do from here. You can provide points. I didn't assign any points, but you can kind of put a grade in there if you wanted to. You can download the file from here. You can download it directly to your computer. You can download it to open it straight away in Word, or you can open it within Teams. You can also view history as well. Say if they've handed in various versions of the work, you have extra copies of that, which is quite useful. You can add an overall feedback, so you can let them know what their overall grade is. You can say, well done, I thought it was quite good, or you need to make some improvements here and there. But not just that. Within the application of Word, you can start adding comments as well and start really going in and picking out where they can make improvements. And to do that, it is a little bit, it's not too complicated, but you just need to look out for the right icon. So all you need to do is there's this little pen icon in the right-hand corner. It'll say editing. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to see where it says reviewing. So if you ever want to review someone's work, you can click and add a comment and make suggestions. So I'm going to click on the review, and I'm going to say, put a little comment saying work 100 out of 100, for example. Or I can make a comment at the bottom saying needs more explanation, something like that. And you can add some comments, and that's been added to their work as a comment now. So when they receive it, it's almost like a red pen showing where they can make adjustments. Then what I can do, once I've made my adjustments and I've added my feedback, I can click return. Now the student is going to get the feedback that I've submitted to them, and I can close that. So they can look through, see where they need to make improvements as like a final piece of work. If I go back to my assignments area, the assigned is gone now because I've marked all of the different assignments that were there and on all the students who did it. So if I ever make a mistake and want to go back and just double check something, I can go down to where it says, I should be able to go down and see where it says returned. Oh, this is where I get thrown off. I should be able to do this. There we go. Sorry, yeah. There we go. Returned. So this is the first assignment that I handed out. So I can re-click on that, and then it says to return, but I already returned this one. So I can go back, and if I want to make some adjustments, I can do it that way as well. So there we go. So we've learned how we can create, how we can get onto Teams, we can create a team, how we can optimize using Teams to work and suit us. We've created a team and made it fit more efficiently. We've also found a way that we can use it to create documents, share documents, and use it to assess students' quality of work.